Thank you.
How you
Hi.
doing?
Good, how are you? Hi, how are you?
Mic check, mic check. All right, that's much better. I'll just lean down a little bit so we don't get all that
Morning, how are
feedback.
you?
Good.
We don't turn these on, do we?
No. Do you want this to add as well? So Lisa, do you want this?
No, I didn't bring the right utensil. That'd be good.
All right.
We streaming? Awesome. Well, for those of you joining us online, welcome. To everybody here in the room, welcome. So good afternoon. This is the second 2025 Board Candidate Forum here at Treasure Lake RV Resort. I'll be serving as your moderator today. This forum gives you, the owners, a chance to hear directly from the candidates running for the Board of Directors. This is a structured and respectful platform for learning more about each candidate's qualifications and vision for the resort. Please remember, this is not a debate. It's an open, equal platform where all candidates will have the opportunity to share their vision and answer questions from our ownership. To ensure a respectful and productive event, please listen carefully to the decorum rules. Candidates must remain seated while speaking, may speak only when recognized by the moderator, must stop immediately when the red card is shown, must remain respectful toward other candidates, the moderator, and owners. No personal attacks, sarcasm, or inflammatory language. Notes may be used, but no phones or electronic devices during parts 1 and 2. For the owners and audience, must remain respectful toward all participants. Questions must focus on board service, governance, or qualifications, not personal issues. Only the person called by the moderator may approach the microphone. Questions must be under 30 seconds. No clapping, cheering, booing, or interruptions. Phones must be silenced. Disruptive behavior may lead to removal. And thank you in advance for your cooperation. So part 1, we'll begin with part 1, moderator-led Q&A. These questions were submitted by owners in advance. Please silence cell phones. Given time constraints, questions were selected based on reoccurrence and relevancy to board service. Each candidate will answer the same question. Before each question, I'll draw a name from this jar to determine who will answer first. Wesley is not with us today, Wesley Clark, so his name has been removed. We'll then rotate left to right across the stage in that order. And that name will be drawn each time we ask a question. Each candidate will have up to 90 seconds to respond. No rebuttals or follow-ups are allowed. Our timekeeper will use visual cue cards: green to start speaking, yellow, 30 seconds remaining, and red means stop immediately. All right, so for our first question, Rick Burgess will be starting us. There you are. All right, Rick. If elected, will you represent all of the members? When the membership is divided, how do you approach making a decision? Absolutely. If elected, will you represent all the members? When the membership is divided, how do you approach making the decision?
Of course, I would represent, the members of the park, you're talking, I assume. And yes, I would represent, that's what I'm here for, is to represent the park. That's the main goal, is to take care of the park and make good decisions on what's going to help the park out. And so, I don't, that's it.
Okay, perfect. And just a reminder, especially those using the non-wireless mics, please ensure that you've got that microphone up close to your face and you're speaking directly into the mic. Brian York, if elected, will you represent all the members? When the membership is divided, how do you approach making the decision?
I think as a board member, you're elected by all the members, so you really need to represent everyone, and it is difficult when there is a division in ideas because we all don't agree. So we have to work with everyone to what's best for the park, as Rick said, and I think it would be important to find out where the division is, what the feeling is from everyone on both sides, and kind of work to a conclusion the best that we can so that both sides are satisfied as well as possible, but maintaining what is best for Treasure Lake overall. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Courtney Ness, if elected, will you represent all the members? All right. Courtney, if elected, will you represent all the members? When the membership is divided, how do you approach making the decision?
The membership will almost always be divided. In an organization this large, we're never all going to agree on everything. Even in an organization a fraction of our size, even in a room this size, we're going to have a million different opinions about things. I think that we have all learned in the last 3 weeks that the best way to solve conflict is by talking, conversations, talking. And I think that that is the best solution. I think having not committee meetings, not more, well, let's get 10 people over here and talk about it, just an open forum. Hey, you know what? We've got a big decision coming up that we are all paying for. We've got a big decision coming up. Let's get together and hash it out. If you're interested in coming to talk about it, let's get together and talk about these things so that it doesn't explode and become a huge thing. Because the only way that we can represent everybody is by everybody having a voice, by everybody talking. That's what we're up here, that we want to be your voice, but we also want to hear what you have to say to us. So I think that that's the best way to go about those kinds of things is talking, face to face as much as possible.
Great, thank you, Courtney. John Schreiber, if elected, will you represent all the members? When the membership is divided, how do you approach making the decision?
Well, yes, the intent would definitely be to represent everyone, but in order to represent everyone, everyone has to be willing to share the opinion. Now, obviously, no individual is going to be able to visit every member of Treasure Lake on every given issue, but you just have to be available for those who are and listen to what they have to say and bring that to the fore. Now, not everybody, as Courtney said, is going to be all in agreement at any given time. The organization is just too large. So, essentially, you take all the feedback you get from the membership, and then you would bring it together to the board, and I can pretty well guesstimate that we'll be 100% right 50% of the time. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Dustin, if elected, will you represent all the members? When the membership is divided, how do you approach making decisions?
Of course, it would have every owner's best interest, because I want my best interest heard. So I think that's first and foremost the most important thing. Secondly, we need to find common ground. Sometimes that's difficult. I think if we listen and we're attentive, we're transparent, I think that will help drive to at least getting to a common ground. But if a decision can't be mutually agreed upon, we as board members need to make the correct decision based on business practices, policies and procedures, and what is ultimately best for the park.
Great, thank you, Dustin. Lael Straight, if elected, will you represent all the members? When the membership is divided, how do you approach making a decision?
Stephen, thank you for that question. First of all, when you're serving on the board, of course, you're working for all owners. It's important that you seek to understand all sides of the issue. That's asking questions, gathering input, doing your research. And it's important to remember that you are working with all of the board of directors and the general manager to try to make the best decisions for the park. That might be based on current data, historical data, laws, rules, and et cetera. So there's a lot that goes on that we do to try to make every decision, and that's what we're committed to continue to do.
Great, thank you, Lael. Gary Ball, if elected, will you represent all the members? When the membership is divided, how do you approach making decisions?
Well, the first thing is that, yes, of course, we are representing all of the owners all of the time. And therefore, the one thing we have to do is keep open communication between us and the owners, whether they're in agreement on a particular item or not. We need to listen to every facet of the discussion. In addition, it's amazing how often history repeats itself. And when you've been around as long as I have, that it is a benefit to know what has happened in the past. And oftentimes something will go back down the same course. And then you can look at how that played out and use that as maybe a way of working with the owners that have a different opinion as far as how things have gone down before. As Lael said, also you work with the other board members. They have a different idea and possibly a different representation and a different group that they have been working with. So the idea is, and the ultimate decision has to be made based on the best interests of the park in all situations.
Thank you, Gary. Brian Norton, if elected, will you represent all the members? When the membership is divided, how do you approach making the decision?
Well, of course, I would represent all the owners of the park. First and foremost, we're here for the park, though. Those decisions, whenever there's small factions, can get the park divided in very bad places. So we need to work together, and communication is the key to keeping your decisions for the park and for the owners. And it's a balancing act, and you have to figure out where that's at. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Next question will be answered first by Lael Straight. Lael, how would you work to build more trust between the board, employees, and membership?
Thank you for the question, and that's a good one, and that's one that we've been talking about a lot lately. I think better communication, and any of you that attend our board meetings have noticed we're trying to do a better job listening answering, trying to get information out on what we call kind of hot topics that we know are kind of going on around social media or on the park. But I think that ultimately, our job is to listen and to represent, and that's really all that we do.
Great, thank you, Lael. Gary Ball, how would you work to build more trust between the board, employees, and membership?
I think the first thing you really have to do is communication. You have to listen to people. You have to be available to the individuals so that they have an opportunity to express themselves to you. You cannot just be a person that comes here occasionally and not really just for the board meeting and then never see anybody in the interim. You have to be here often enough to be able to get a handle on what's going on, how people are feeling, the staff and the work campers. We're trying to do better with the work campers and analyzing what it's going to take to increase that population for us. But we also have to recognize we have some very good staff here, and we need to pay really good attention as to what that is needed to keep those people here and on our side and not looking for another job somewhere else, because they're out there. Our jobs are there. So we want to keep those good staff here. And we have to look at what it's going to take to do that, whether it's better pay, compensation, benefits, time off, whatever it's going to take. We need to be aware of what it is and work with it and keep those dedicated employees and work campers on the park, as well as the owners that are contributing in the way of volunteers. It all meshes together, and it's all got to work together, and we have to all be unity. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Brian Norton, how would you work to build more trust between the board, employees, and membership?
I know in the past, whenever we changed management, we worked really hard to cultivate a way that the board could communicate with the owners and the staff, and the staff is a very important part of it. And I understand now that the staff's not allowed to communicate with the board. That's what I've been told anyway. I don't know that for a fact, but I know that communication is the key in all parts of the board. And we need to communicate with our staff, with our work campers, our employees, our managers, and the board needs to really be there and be communicating with all those people. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brian. Rick Burgess, how would you work to build more trust between the board, employees, and membership?
Like they've said already, number one, you got to be honest. Everybody has to be honest with everybody. You can't hide nothing. You can't have friends over here you're talking to and not over here you're talking to. Everybody has to talk to everybody. There has to be excellent communication, especially from management to the workers, because they need to know what's going on, just exactly where they stand. I've been on both ends, and you just got to have good communication. You got to discuss it amongst the board members, and get it out there, and that's basically it. I mean, communication and being honest.
Great, thank you, Rick. Brian York, how would you work to build more trust between the board, employees, and membership?
I think part of that starts with the board communicating with the general manager, because that seems to be what one of our big roles is overseeing that and communicating what we're seeing, what we're hearing out of others. It's even though we're members of the same park, it's kind of incumbent on us to have our ears open and our mouths shut as the board's a little bit more so, and listening to what employees are saying, what other members are saying, and just listening and compiling that and even meeting on it and conveying to you how we can work to fix whatever is going on. And then, it's been mentioned several times, communication is key. Letting people know that, hey, we are taking this seriously. We do recognize an issue here. We're working on it. If you have ideas, please get them to us so that we can work together on this, so we can work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Courtney, Ness, how would you work to build more trust between the board, employees, and membership?
If you're in this room and you've ever seen me riding around on my golf cart with my daughter on a puppy hunt, raise your hand. You've seen. I am on this park. You can find me. You can talk to me. I don't even need to be on the board. You can do that. Because you could do that when I was a work camper. You could find me and talk to me. You can do that as I'm an owner. Find me and talk to me. I've been both of those things. I still am an owner, obviously. If I make it on the board, you find me, you talk to me. I've got dog treats for you. I've got the cutest little kid you've ever seen on my golf cart. It is about relationships, y'all. It is about transparency, conversation, relationships. And that is what I believe that we need to build, whether we sit behind this table another time or not. Because we are all part of the same park and we are all working for the same goal, and that is to better our park and to make it better for generations and generations and generations, so that I can take my grandkids on puppy hunts. So that is how, I think that is how you are transparent. I think that is how you start communications. It is relationships. It is friendships. It is being comfortable. I know that I can go talk to Don. He's got a Labradoodle, but I know I can go talk to Don because he's out there and he's being friendly to folk. And that is what I will continue to be. I think I'm pretty friendly now, but that is what I will continue to be on the board.
Great. Thank you, Courtney. John Schreiber, how would you work to build more trust between the board, employees, and membership?
Well, obviously, as everyone has said, communication is key. You've got to be willing to do a whole lot more listening, because that's the only way you're going to learn. So you need to listen to all parties. You need to be willing to come alongside some of those staff members, work campers, everybody else, just to, if they need a hand with something, you've got to be willing to give them that hand. That's what's going to build trust with the staff, is being willing to help out. If they're having a bad day, find a way to pick them up verbally, whatever the case is. Then as far as, just, again, communicating, listening to what people have to say, learning their stance, may conflict with yours, but you have to be willing to understand that, yes, you have an opinion, but yours isn't always going to be right. So, you got to act upon that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, John. Dustin Logsden, how would you work to build more trust between the board, employees, and membership?
Well, as everybody said, communication, it obviously starts there. The second thing I've always done in business is lead by example. I'm not going to ask anything out of a work camper or an employee or an owner that I wouldn't be willing to do myself. And I think if all board members had that mentality going forward, it would be great. I think we want to make sure that the employees, work campers, and owners are heard. And that we're initiating that conversation sometimes, and sometimes that we need to sit back and let them initiate that conversation. But then we need to put those things into practice and make sure that we're doing what we're saying we're doing. We're being transparent. We have the best interests of the park in mind. My mentality has always been in the past that even if I own the company or I'm a board member, I still work for you. It's not the other way around, and I think that is the example we need to have.
Great. Thank you, Dustin. All right, John Schreiber, What steps would you take to help members feel informed while respecting the need for confidentiality in executive sessions?
Well, obviously, in any organization, there are going to be things that the members don't necessarily have access to. That's why you have a board. That's why you have decision-making entities. So you let them know that if there is a concern, that it is being worked on, and you reassure them of that. But obviously, there's a point at which you have to stop and say, you know, really, that's pretty much all I can tell you, you know. Be empathetic, because we all always want to know more, and, you know, sometimes that's just not possible. So, you know, just being able to reassure them, you are there, you do have their best interests at heart, and that's what you're trying to act upon. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Dustin Logsdon. What steps would you take to help members feel informed while respecting the need for confidentiality in executive sessions?
I think you've noticed in the last couple of board meetings that we've taken steps to be more transparent. We've opened up the mic before we've made motions or shortly thereafter, trying to be more transparent in that aspect. When it comes to confidentiality versus transparency, there's a thin line. Confidentiality really borders on our ethical and legal obligation to protect the organization. And that's sometimes difficult for some of the owners to maybe understand, because it's a really hard line to kind of toe. But I think if we continue to lead by example, we're transparent when we're able to be transparent, we're open in those discussions. I think going forward, that will build trust inside the organization.
Great, thank you, Dustin. Lael Straight, what steps would you take to help members feel informed while respecting the need for confidentiality in executive sessions?
Thank you for the question. Again, I think that we are trying to work on our transparency by recognizing that there are hot topics out there and making statements on those, opening up the mic at meetings, asking for input when we can. There are a lot of things that happen in board meeting sessions, under executive sessions, that we just cannot talk about. If it's about employment, if it's about other topics, and for the safety of the park, sometimes when people come and ask me, I have to just say, you know what, I know you're curious. I wish I could tell you more, but I just can't. And I really appreciate when people ask me good questions that make me think and go back to the other members so that we can open up more dialogue and conversation. But I really also respect it when they say, you know what, thank you for telling me that you can't share that. We really appreciate that you are honoring that job and making sure that you're keeping the park safe. So I think constantly finding that balance, and then I know that Gary Ball's doing a great job posting those minutes with conversation and working on those, and I appreciate that. So shout out to Gary for that.
Thank you, Lael. Gary Ball, what steps would you take to help members feel informed while respecting the need for confidentiality in executive sessions?
Well, start off with that. And yes, as far as being secretary of the organization is concerned, it is a task that we've been trying as a group. Granted, I try and prod as much as what I can get away with to get everybody on board with what we can say and what we can't say, and make sure that the minutes that we project out there now actually say something meaningful. Admittedly, what we do in executive session is not shared in general. However, oftentimes what we say and do in an executive session will result in a motion of some sort later on that's conducted, that's in regular session. So what we do is then we try and put what we can in the minutes that reflect what needed to be done and why it needed to be done to the extent that we can. It's a group effort. The board is trying very hard to do this itself, and that is a good way to do it. So it's a concerted effort. The other thing that we look at is not only personnel, but legal issues. Anytime that we need to work on a legal item, that is affecting the park, that also is done in executive session, and we need to be careful in how we handle that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Brian Norton, what steps would you take to help members feel informed while respecting the need for confidentiality in executive sessions?
There's a fine line between transparency and confidentiality. And there's some information out there that the board has to deal with that just can't be shared. That's all there is to it. But the board needs to work together to decide what that is and what information can be shared and what can't be shared. And they need to make sure if we can't share it, let them know why we can't share it. And that would be a simple task for the board to do. I appreciate your question.
Thank you, Brian. Rick Burgess, what steps would you take to help members feel informed while respecting the need for confidentiality in executive sessions?
Well, here again, like they've been saying, you got to be as honest as you can with the people. But there are just things that you cannot talk about. I mean, when you're trying to make decisions on the board, you can't let them know what it is you're discussing, but keep them informed as much as possible. And you just can't say anything. I mean, it's just the way it is. And I know, because I've talked to board members before, and they say I just can't say anything. And it's just the way it is. And it's just one of the things they have to learn to they have to accept. So, but that's it.
Thank you, Rick. Brian York, what steps would you take to help members feel informed while respecting the need for confidentiality in executive sessions?
This seems like an easy question, but it's not, because it is difficult. As an owner here, I want to know what's going on. I want to know what are y'all talking about, behind closed doors, because that curious side of me is there, and I think we all have that, and so maintaining confidentiality on certain things, yeah, it is a legal issue. I think it was Gary that said that, and it definitely is, and we have to recognize as members that there are some things, and I have counseled folks spiritually before that were going through different things that I can't talk about who I counseled. I can't talk about what it was about, and I never can. The difference here is there are things that will come out that can come out eventually, and as soon as it crosses over to where it is a public item that we can let everyone know about, then everyone needs to know about it, through the app, through the website, through the newsletter, so that folks know that we are being as transparent as we possibly can, but we're maintaining a confidentiality that they themselves would expect if we were dealing with an individual case. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Courtney Ness, what steps would you take to help members feel informed while respecting the need for confidentiality in executive sessions?
These are my thoughts for question 1, question 2, question 3, because we're up here talking about transparency, communication. Well, I can't tell you anything because I have this special meeting that no one's allowed to come to, and I can't tell you about any of it. That's what it feels like to me right now, sitting here as an owner and a former work camper. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't feel good about it. I don't. I do know that the park has been sued in the past, that there's legal things we're not allowed to talk about. I'm not unrealistic. That has happened. So I think that when it comes to confidentiality among this special meeting no one's allowed to go to, you do need to use discretion when it comes to legal things, but the owners need to know the exact chapter and verse of those bylaws of why you can't know that information, because this is our park. We have paid for this park, the same as everybody up here, the same as everybody that goes into that locked room over there. We've paid the same amount of dues. Some of us, it doesn't matter how much we paid for our ownership, because sometimes people, it's deeded down, or we buy it on sale, or we paid full rack price, but we're paying the same dues and the same nightly fees. So communication, transparency does not go out the window when that door closes over there.
Thank you, Courtney. Courtney Ness.
I don't have time to think.
What experience do you have with financial oversight, and how would you ensure accuracy, accountability, and transparency in reporting?
I don't need to think about that. Thank you. First of all, I know how to not spend more than I own. I've got a certain amount of money in the bank, and I don't spend any more than that. If I have questions about that money in the bank, I go and I find people who do know more than me. I go to my banker, I go to somebody who's an expert. I've even done that on the park in the last few weeks. The debit card credit that came up, I found an accountant on the park, we became friends, and I started asking her those questions. And so you go and you find those experts to answer and to educate you and to inform you on things that you don't yourself have that information yet. And now I do. I'm a little bit smarter because I talked to her about it. So that's how I think that that's the best tool that you can do when it comes to finances, is you lean on people smarter than yourself for things that you don't yourself know, which goes back to relationships and communication, because you're out there finding other owners. We all have the same vested interest in success here. So I think that all working together, that's how we keep our finances, our budget, we keep it all under control because we're working together. We are a huge, full, robust team.
Great, thank you, Courtney. John Schreiber, what experience do you have with financial oversight, and how would you ensure accuracy, accountability, and transparency in reporting?
Well, in the past, I've served on elder board at church, serving specifically on finance committees, so we oversaw a period of 3 years. The church finances and keeping things up and running, make sure the pastor gets paid, make sure the bills get paid, things like that. So, I know how a larger operation runs, and, I think areas that you may be a little unknowledgeable in, you do need to seek out advice from elsewhere. Now, obviously, in this particular scenario, there are going to be certain things that you have to be real careful about how you ask the questions, because you don't want to open any doors and let anybody peek into things that they don't need to be seen. But you need to have a good understanding before you start making decisions that are going to affect a large group of people. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Dustin Logsdon, what experience do you have with financial oversight, and how would you ensure accuracy, accountability, and transparency in reporting?
I come from a background that I had 23 offices in 17 states, had full P&L responsibility for those offices for 16 years, and saw extremely profitable in all 23 offices. Been a part of the finance team here for a year and a half, have helped take us out of the hole we were in into a net positive. And so I feel like I've got good understanding of business accounting practices, which is shown in my work history. And I think the ability that we have as an organization to come in and have our audits done yearly like we're doing will help us keep our balances in check. And I'm always looking for ways to cut costs, increase the experience here, and make Treasure Lake last forever.
Great, thank you, Dustin. Lael Straight, what experience do you have with financial oversight, and how would you ensure accuracy, accountability, and transparency in reporting?
Thank you for that question. A little bit on my history, as most of you know, as a superintendent and principal. One of our major jobs is, of course, keeping the budget and knowing the difference between federal and state funding and all of the things that go into that. So I'm very familiar with that. That was a part of my life for 30 years. Talking about where we're at now as an organization, when you serve on the board of a 501c7, your main job is having financial oversight of the organization. That's something that you take a pledge to when you take this job. So we have taken our finances in-house and away from Abacus to continue to try to get control of that. That's a huge undertaking. I know that we have talked about that before as an organization, but I have to just say hats off to that finance committee and to Stephen, and if you could give them all a big round of applause, they deserve it, because over 8,000 lines of finances is what they're looking at every time they meet as they continue to get a hold of this organization. And so my job as a board member is to, I guess I probably need to take them boxes of chocolates because they're working so hard, but it's also to understand that, to appreciate that, to ask questions and continue to give guidance where I can. So that's a great question. It's on my mind a lot.
Great, thank you, Lael. Gary Ball, what experience do you have with financial oversight, and how would you ensure accuracy, accountability, and transparency in reporting?
Well, in my past, I was Assistant Center Director of a regional center in Poplar Bluff, and we had 73 employees. We had 40 inpatients, 20 boy, 20 girl, or male and female, however you looked at. And the budget was the responsibility of the Assistant Center Director, which is the position that I held. Actually, we had 3 state audits while I was in that position. And if anybody knows anything about state auditors, they can be brutal. And so going through a state audit 3 times in a state position teaches you very quickly about all the necessities that you have to go through to be transparent to the books, accuracy, and responsibility. So from that standpoint, it was a very good learning experience. I've taken that forward. I also have a Bachelor of Science degree from, which has also in business administration and a emphasis in accounting. So that aspect also helps to understand when Dustin and Gary Miles and whatnot are talking finances. I can kind of keep up with them a little bit and know what they're talking about, and that helps immensely. So it's a matter of trying to just stay on top of things and stay transparent, look at every transaction, and work together for the best interest of the park.
Thank you, Gary. Brian Norton, what experience do you have with financial oversight, and how would you ensure accuracy, accountability, and transparency in reporting?
Well, first of all, over the last 3 years, I was part of the board that brought in new management. We had oversight over the financial change that we made from Abacus to in-house, and that's my part of the finances here. But in my background, I worked for Cox Communication as a field auditor, and our job was to go out and reconcile delinquent accounts and find people stealing cable, basically. And we had to be able to do that in a way to satisfy all parties involved, and had to do it with a calm enough head and think about what you're saying to keep from escalating the temperature of the situation. And what did I write down here? I'm sorry. But like I said, the last 3 years, I really think that we've came a long ways from where we were going, and I think now we're on the right track, and I hope we can stay that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Rick Burgess, what experience do you have with financial oversight, and how would you ensure accuracy, accountability, and transparency in reporting?
The only financial that I've had done is with my church, but you know, you got to keep everything running right and make sure that you're not, you know, got money coming in and money going out. And, you know, but the board has to work together on, I mean, you do have a financial committee, and they're the ones really in charge of it, but for looking for things where money's being spent that doesn't really need to be spent, you know, and looking for things that's wrong with the park, that's taking money that shouldn't be going out, and so that's about all I can say. I really don't, that's it.
Thank you, Rick. Brian York, what experience do you have with financial oversight, and how would you ensure accuracy, accountability, and transparency in reporting?
But I've mentioned this before, but I'm the Director of Development for Fairhaven Children's Home, which is a cool title. It just means I'm the guy that begs for money. That's what I do. And we're a 501c3, so we do take, you know, most of our support is donors. We went from being in severe debt to the point of almost closing our doors. I come in and I can't take all the credit, but I had to oversee a lot of the work. And now we're in a very financially secure situation where we could run a year, I believe, without any more funds coming in. So some oversight, yeah. But it makes me aware of how important every dollar is and where it's spent, what it's going to, and is this going to be for a furtherance of the work that we're doing. So when I apply that over even to this work, in many ways it's the same. As far as transparency and accuracy, again, I like to know where every dollar is going, where it came from, how we can use it the best. But owners need to be aware of where we are financially. And with the children's home, we don't like the word audit, but it is good to have someone on the outside check your books, check your numbers. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Two double answers. Brian, you're up first this time. Brian, what is the number one thing you hope to accomplish during your term if elected?
This, Brian? Okay, read that again, please.
What is the number one thing you hope to accomplish during your term if elected?
You know, I ever since I threw my name in the hat, it's really been important to me that in many ways we keep going in the same direction that we're going. Now I know everyone can go, well, I don't want this. I get that. But bringing my kids here, and now we've got a youngster again in our house, I want this park to remain in many ways, at least the feel, to be the same. Yeah, we've got some upkeep, we've got some general maintenance, we got to keep up with the times and different things like that, but you know, that's one of my biggest goals, is that we stay financially solvent. Things keep going a lot of the same way that they have over the past years, because the memories that I have with my kids, I want with my grandkids here to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Courtney Ness, what is the number one thing you hope to accomplish during your term if elected?
Camping. We should all go camping, and we should all encourage others to go camping more, because the more we camp, the better we do. The more we camp, the more we're together, the more we get to know each other, the more we become a community. So while we're camping, what we can do is add golf cart spaces. We have 11 parking lots on this park and only one spot to park golf carts. If we took one parking space from each of the 11 parking lots and restriped it for golf carts, we could fit a lot more vehicles in, especially back here in the summertime when the pool is full and so is the parking lot, and a golf cart is taking up a big old space where you want to put your truck. So if we added more golf cart parking around the park, we need a new website and app Y'all, I saw them meet the manager this morning trying to find that list. It should not be that hard. This is 2025. We need to update. I'm not talking about the internet access, I understand that, but we need to update our visual technology as far as our apps, our websites, all of that stuff. But we need to keep it classic camping, you guys. We need to keep it fun for all ages. Mini golf is fun, swimming is fun. We need to keep it fun, and we need to keep it accessible, and we need to keep it simple to find information, simple to get our golf carts around, and just so everybody will come camping, because that's why we're here.
Thank you, Courtney. John Schreiber, what is the number one thing you hope to accomplish during your term if elected?
Well, I think the saying goes, you should leave it better than you found it. And, you know, since we've been members, things have gotten a lot better, so that would be a stiff challenge in and of itself, is to find ways to make it where it's better than how we found it. But I would say the one thing is to get people here more frequently if possible, bring them in so that when you show up for bingo on Friday night, when you show up for Texas Hold'em on Tuesday afternoon, that you're not having to reintroduce yourself to people all the time because you're there enough that you know everybody. And that would go hand in hand with, if we have more people here and they're here more regularly, that probably helps to increase the revenue stream, which makes us able to do a lot more things that we want to do from a park improvement standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Dustin Logsdon, what is the number one thing you hope to accomplish during your term if elected?
You know, I'm a business person, so for me it all starts and ends with financial fiscal responsibility, limiting liability, reducing risk, which in turn leads to infrastructure issues being corrected, more vehicles for the park, more tools for maintenance, which in turn brings in, I think, a whole new aspect for camping that we all can enjoy. And so for me, it always starts and ends with our fiscal responsibility. And so if I can continue on the path that we've done the last year and a half of getting us past this transition of bringing our finances in-house, I think that will lead us down the road in so many other areas that I can see in 3 years from now, if elected. I think it could be a whole different ballgame here.
Thank you, Dustin. Lael Strait, what is the number one thing you hope to accomplish during your term if elected?
Thank you for that question. I think in a nutshell, I would just say park stability has to be my number one goal, and I'll break that down into a few categories. We need to continue to cut where we can and grow where we can, and that's a conversation we're having all the time with the Long Range Planning Committee, and I'm really excited to see what they come out with and what we're able to do as a board if I'm still serving in December. We need to listen to owners so that we can prioritize those small and large projects to meet the needs. I know that we sent a survey out about a year ago, and sites were the number one thing that everybody talked about wanting improvement on. So my recommendation, if I'm still on the board, would be to probably send out another survey after we have some more categories for them to look at from the Long Range Planning Committee and get that input so that we can work with it. And then I want to continue to improve the work camper program so that we can continue to do the things that make the park as special as what they are: activities, programming, keeping it family-centered, and of course, safety. So you don't get a park like what we have without incredible people working here. Our work campers are the heart of what happens here, and I'm so excited to be serving on this new committee so we can find out how to make that work camper program the best it can be, and we can get new people in here and share the love of the park with more people, hopefully.
Thank you, Lael. Gary Ball, what is the number one thing you hope to accomplish during your term if elected?
Most everybody has referred to things that require resources, money, etc. in that area. The one thing that I would like to see accomplished is to reduce the number of ownerships that the park has in its possession, which is still 870 something. That would give us in the neighborhood of over $800,000 if we sold them at just $1,000 apiece. I would like to see us have an $800,000 increase in our budget, in our finances in that respect, and also that would bring in another $160,000 a year approximately in dues. So all of the other things that the individuals up here have talked about can be accomplished with this added money into our treasury. It comes down to the fact that not only are we adding money in, but we're adding people in here, family, friends, so that we can, as Courtney was saying, increase the camping experience. All of these things come together if we can do this, reducing the number of memberships that the owners that we have in the safe, in the vault, wherever we want to say they're at, the file cabinet, wherever. We need to get those out on the street. It's not been that many years ago.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Brian Norton, what is the number one thing you hope to accomplish during your term if elected?
I would like to cultivate an informative environment to all three phases of Treasure Lakes, all three tiers of Treasure Lake structure, from owners to board members to management to employees, work campers. If we can keep that cultivation, or if we can cultivate that kind of an environment, I think the park would actually operate smoother. And I would also like to try to cultivate a revenue stream, a little more reliable revenue stream, to where we could correct a lot of our failing infrastructure that we have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Rick Burgess, what is the number one thing you hope to accomplish during your term if elected?
Well, I've been a member here since '04, and I remember what the park was like when I first became a member. And it was in a lot better shape. I mean, the roads were better, the guards, they had trucks to ride in, they had, and while walking around here in the park, trying to get, talking to people, trying to get votes and stuff, listening to what they have to say, a lot of the stuff that they want is more concrete sites, and I know that takes money, and more 50-amp service. Some of the people who work here, they want better things, better tools. I mean, I saw them carrying a mower with a backhoe, getting it out. It broke down. They've been using them mowers, I don't know how long, but it's just things like that needs to be improved. And I know I can't do that by myself. It takes the whole board and everybody, and you can't do it overnight either. But still, it was in much better shape when I first came here, and I'd like to see it get back to the way it was. Even the pool. You go out there in the summertime, and if it isn't 95 degrees, you get in that pool and it's cold. There's a reason for that.
Thank you, Rick.
Yep.
All right, this is now part 2, so we're transitioning. We appreciate you candidates. In this section, owners will line up to ask questions. You will have 30 seconds to ask your question, and you must direct it to one specific candidate. Only that candidate will respond. The candidates responding will have 90 seconds. Just a reminder, there's a button on this microphone that you'll need to press if it's not illuminated to be heard. We also have a panel of judges that is here to help ensure decorum. If 2 or more judges raise red cards, can you raise those up for me? If two or more raise those red cards up, I will dismiss the question or ask for it to be rephrased. Questions must focus on board service, governance, or qualifications and not personal matters. After this section, each candidate will be given some time for closing remarks. So if you do have a question, feel free to line up here, and I will call you one at a time to the microphone.
All right, this is for Courtney. There we go. Okay, Courtney, are you committed to the best interest of the park in respects to your votes being persuaded by friendships with other board members as seen by issues in the past? And how would you combat that situation if you was to see it taking place with other board members?
Can you ask me one more time,
Yeah.
please?
Are you committed to the best interest of the park in respects to your votes being persuaded by friendships with other board members as seen by issues in the past? And how would you combat that situation if you was to see it taking place with other board members?
Thank you. Thank you for asking me. I'm talked to several board members up here. I don't know, except for maybe one, that I would consider myself friends with them because I haven't spoken with them enough to be a friend. But I think that as a grown-up, I got to do the right thing, no matter what someone else does. I do understand. I think that we're not playing Survivor. There are no alliances. There are definitely, that was a good idea. I'm going to support that idea. But it's based on ideas and not personalities, not people. So, let's hope that it's a cool person with a great idea. But it might be, there's been people up here talking the whole day that I've been thinking, oh, wow, I didn't know that person was going to say that. That's not a bad idea. I'm surprised. So kind of vice versa, or wow, I wish they hadn't have said that. I like that person, but I don't agree with what they've just said. So I think that I personally wouldn't have a problem standing my ground based on the personality / friend / relationship. Either it's a good idea or it's not a good idea. Does that answer your question,
Yep.
kind of? Okay.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Whoever makes it here first gets it.
This one question's for Leah. I've heard a couple of times that you have said you're on the committee for long-term with the work campers. Okay. How long has that committee been going on for?
Okay, that's one that we just started. I believe it's probably about a month and a half ago, so we've had one meeting.
Oh.
And so we asked for volunteers for that, and we have, I think currently maybe 8 or 9 people on that list. Is that correct, Stephen? And of course, that's not a closed committee, so if there are still people that want to serve on that committee, we would love to have more people serving on that.
Okay. Could I ask her another thing on that? Or no?
One question.
Oh, okay.
Per, sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
If there's nobody else, you can get back in line. Yeah. It's a short line.
This one's for you, Dustin. We have a vast knowledge in this park, expertise everywhere, and most of it hasn't been used in years.
Well, I think the first thing, you're correct. We need to rely on our owners. We have owners that are business owners, bankers, teachers, and they all bring something to the table. I'm a big opponent of an open floor, making sure that the avenues for the board, getting to management, that those avenues are apparent to the owners, that they know how to get those questions to us. And I think it's our job when we come across big projects that we're putting it out to the owners to say, hey, look, we're looking for experts in these categories. I think that's been evident in some of the committees that we have. we have the finance committee, so we reached out to some people that we knew, the other owners that had a financial background. I think with our attempt in July with the work camper program, we put it out to the work campers, even just regular owners. If you have input, it's super valuable because we're not the experts in everything. That's not what we're here for. And so I think it's vitally important. I think it's a great question to ask, that if you're an owner and you feel like you can help and you feel like there's an area that needs your expertise, I am very open to talking to you at any point in time.
Next.
Okay, this is for Leah again. Is there any way that something can start being advertised now so that we have work campers and employees for next year's, because we're really hurting this year? We need to get that information out now so that word can spread, and the ones that we do have will come back next year.
I could not agree with you more, 100%. Work campers overall is something that I think all big campgrounds are really focused on, because we know we can't make it and survive without amazing employees here. Like I continue to say, that is the heartbeat of what we have happening here and what makes everything happen. And so we know that that was not successful this year. We know that even with all of our best efforts, we were not able to recruit like we have in the past. And so anytime something is not successful, you have to really dive in and start researching what are other campgrounds our size doing? What are other campgrounds in our area doing? How are they recruiting people? What are they offering work campers? Is it a different in work schedule? Is it fewer hours? Is it difference in jobs? Is it different benefits? Is it, you know, maybe you all need a brand new remake down there and your own laundromat? I don't know. I don't have the answers. I know that I am excited to find the answers, and I'm excited to continue to give all my time and effort into trying to solve that problem, because I think if we're able to do it right, figure out how we're going to make it better, get it advertised, I think next year we're going to see an even more successful park, which would be really exciting.
Okay, thank you.
So this is for Brian Norton. If reelected, are you committed to making sure your vote is not going to be persuaded by other members of management? And how would you go about that if it was? If management got involved in a decision that the board was making?
What you're asking, I'm trying to understand it. So what you're asking is, would my vote be influenced by other board members or other management?
Other board members, but other management as well.
No, because I don't think it would be influenced by other board members, because I tried while I was on the board before, every decision that I made for the best for the park. So other board members, they may not have liked the way I voted, but I voted that way.
Okay, thank you.
Are the windows still bad in the swimming pool? Are the windows still?
A couple of years ago, I asked the general manager in a meeting like this, I said, what the park ought to do is spruce up the place for when new people come in the park, that it looks really nice. Like replace the windows in the swimming pool over here. This is 2 years ago. Replace the rotten railroad ties down in miniature golf place. You know, we got to sell this place to new members.
Your 30 seconds is up.
Oh,
Did you want to ask a question? I'm sorry.
can you all do anything about that?
Need to direct it at one board member.
I'll direct that to Brian.
Thank you.
I believe that the board can do it, but it's, like I said in the past, I'm one vote. I can bring that to the board and tell them, try to persuade them to vote for it, but that's all I can do. It's a seven-person board, and my vote's just one. But I would definitely bring it to the board and let them see what needs to be done.
As long as somebody starts at that rate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's got to be a starting point somewhere.
Okay.
This is for Courtney. If you were to become a new board member, what is the one thing you could see that could possibly be an easy fix to make things better here at Treasure Lake? Any kind of improvements or whatever?
Like easy, like we could do it this weekend in a weekend project?
No, overall, like, you know, talk with the rest of the board members, something that you could push to get through that you think that desperately needs to be done.
I think something that desperately needs to be done, but it wouldn't be easy, would be the website and the app need an overhaul. They really need to catch up. They need to catch up to 2025 visually, intuitively, user friendliness, information. It's when before we found Treasure Lake and we would be looking for a place to camp, my husband would find it all the time and be like, call this place. And I would get on the website and be like, this place? And then I'd look at it and be like, oh, they have mini golf. Oh, they have pools. Oh, they have blah, 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 blah. And then I found out it was membership based. We couldn't just come. But I remember always being like, I don't want to camp wherever this is. But then when I find it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this place is heaven. Like, we love it. I think that would be a major single fix that would not only affect us, but it would affect everybody who ever heard of us, because that's the first thing that draws you in 2025, really. I mean, if we don't have a good online presence, they're never gonna see our amazing sites. They're never gonna come and see our cool pool, and they're never gonna rent our golf carts. You know, so I mean, there's a million things popping in my head, but that's the one thing that I think can affect us and bringing in new business to the outside.
Thank you.
Come on. I'll even walk the mic to you. I'm going to do what I do in my Meet the Manager meeting. We're going to go one up.
Okay, this is for Brian York. What is one of the things you would like to see changed if you became a board member and you can work with the rest of the members to get it done?
You know, I think I have to agree with Courtney on some of that. We do need to update the website. We do need to update the app. We need to be visually appealing to people that aren't physically on site so that they're enticed. And I believe Gary mentioned earlier, you know, selling, you know, those that we have still in the safe that are sitting there. We do want more interest in our park. And so I think that would be crucial is building people that don't know about us. We want them talking about us. We want them to know who we are, why we're here, why we're a part of it. And we want folks begging to be a part of what we have. We want to be sold out on membership so that nobody else can get one. That's it. Thank you.
You have a question? No? Okay. All right. Just checking. She was like, I do not have a question. Come on, raise your hand. I'll bring it to you. All right. Oh. I got to say the going once. That's the secret.
It's really Dustin, where do you stand on the 5-day absent rule?
You know, that has come up numerous times in conversations I've had with other board members, other owners. I think it's a give and take. I like it. I think it has helped us generate some revenue. I know I'm only one vote, I would make one correction to it. And that correction is, we have decided to do our buyback days, I think pretty much only for July 4th weekend. I think maybe we change that rule for that one weekend. Because I know that was the one weekend I heard complaints about from numerous owners, that there were people that showed up 1 or 2 weeks before, dropped off the camper, left for 5 days, came back, checked on it, left for another 5 days. And so they weren't experiencing all the activities and the thing the park brings. So that would be my one change. I do think it has helped us drive a little bit more revenue in some of the site nights. And let's be honest, if they're dropping them off for 5 days in April, that's really good revenue for us at that time. And it's really not costing us a whole lot because they're not in here using the water. They're not using the electricity at a high scale. So that would be my answer to that. I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Now, is this your question or her question? Okay.
Actually, it goes back to the young lady question right there. I'll just ask it of Gary. Gary, how do you feel of the 5-day occupancy rule?
As far as for the income that it produces, it's very good. It also allows for individuals that work to be able to come and use the park during the weekends, and they pay their fee for the Monday through Friday. So if we're trying to attract younger population, younger owners that are still working, it's probably a very good thing from that perspective. Now, when it comes to the holidays, specifically 4th of July, I don't think we've had a problem with the other holidays in that regard. That's going to be a little bit of an interesting challenge to tweak that on how we keep track of that. It's always been a challenge even to keep track of the 3 days. So it may sound good in theory that we want to monitor that more closely during the 4th of July time period. It's also going to be a challenge from a perspective of enforcement. With the new system coming in with New Book that's coming online starting January 1st, we may be able to have a better opportunity at enforcement and working on that. I don't know. That's remains to be seen. But that's something I'd like to really look at and see if we have an opportunity to do that, specifically with the use of the gate cards.
No, I'll come to you. Sit down. I got you.
Lyle, what is your vision for improving the work campers program? For example, maybe decreasing the number of hours worked. It is very difficult for a single person to do that because most of them, I know, work an outside job, and just maybe adding more support.
Thank you for that question. That is one of the things that I have heard probably the most from people that are here being an active work camper. When I visit with them, especially if it's you're on your feet so many hours per day, or you're out and in that July heat, how can we make that better? I don't pretend to have all the answers of how to make it better, but I do think looking at the work camper schedule and looking at we have to offer work campers as far as benefits and where you all choose to stay if it's phase 4, those are probably some starting points. But I think that the real strength of the ideas that we're going to be able to use are going to come from our research from other campgrounds and campsites. And it's going to come from sitting down around the table with work campers and the general manager and other board members and just anybody that'll sit around the table with us and just hash that out. I foresee us coming and maybe making a list and presenting that to Stephen and saying, okay, here are our thoughts. What can we work into the budget? What is even possible from this list? And us just trying to figure that out. But thank you for that question, because I do think that that is a key thing that we have to keep our eye on changing.
See, some questions were asked, and everybody's feeling a little more loose, a little more confident, comfortable. We got one over here, and then I'll get this one.
All right, this is for Gary Ball. So I know you've been on the board prior years, but what would you do if you were reelected to get more people in the front office? So it's not just one person working, answering phones and having walk-ins and all that, to where we can get the flow moving more in the front office so it's not so backed up.
I'm hoping that with this new book, I'm not really stuttering, with New Book, the software program that's going to be coming online in January, that it will speed up the check-in process. That's the way it's being sold to us at this point in time. So I'm hopefully that it will be able to deliver on that goal. So that's going to help out a lot as well. We may need to go with better, more individuals in reservations to be able to get timely answered on the phones, and we still don't have, least of all that I'm aware of, where you have an option to ring to the front desk. You have to go around the horn somehow or another if you want to get to the front desk. And that's not necessarily the best intuitive system either. So getting ourselves up to a point where we can get a few work campers even possibly into the front office. I know I did that as a work camper way back yonder, but I was a work camper and then moved into the employment aspect of the front office, because I worked up there right at about 2 years. So it's a wonderful place to work. I'll guarantee you, you have more fun up there working and talking with the owners than anything. So if you've got some time and whatnot, it's a great thing to do. You'll have some good fun.
You had one, right? Sure. All right.
Kind of like keep the ball rolling. So, Courtney, how do you feel about the 5-day occupancy rule?
I actually have the same feeling that a lot of the others do. I think it's a great way to keep passive income flowing in, but during the high occupancy months, probably from maybe mid-June to the end of July, suspend it and make it the 3-day at the most, because people they will use those spaces and they want to come here and participate, and then they get here and they see, well, I can't because that RV got it got a visit last night, so now it's going to be here unattended for another 5 days. But the rest of the year, I think it's a great idea. I think I do like the 5-day rule. I don't know if maybe we put different colored cards on the posts, depending on if the site's closed or if you just got here or if it's before 5 or after 5. Maybe we can make a color code for, it's got the 5 days and the date that it started on, and then you get a fresh one so that we can keep track of it, something like that. But whatever we can do to get the most people here for the longest amount of time is going to benefit us. It's going to benefit the park financially, Thank you.
I'm coming.
Dustin, I have the same question again about work campers and the vision that you may have for improving it. From what I've seen, a lot of it is burnout because they have to work so hard. And let's face it, most of us are older, and mopping, and I volunteered in the rock and roll a little bit, and I noticed in cleanup it was very difficult for some of them to mop just simple little tasks that you don't think about. It's not just serving ice cream and getting burgers. There's a lot that goes into that. And so maybe reducing the hours or just some new ideas for that. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. First and foremost, I'm super excited we have a committee. That's a great first step. And now is the time to put these things into place. For me, all things are on the table. As far as number of hours worked, I know there's been some talk between you have married couples that have to do 24 hours a week, and then a single person is still doing 24 hours a week for that same spot. And I know that we've discussed it. In fact, it kind of came up in the finance meeting this week on how we can kind of talk about our finances and figure out in the budget how we can make that happen. Things on the table are a laundry room down in Phase 4 has come up. Propane, providing propane, maybe it's 1 tank a month for work campers throughout the year. Possibly a meal voucher for the rock and roll in the lodge. So for me, all things are on the table, and for me, I've said it last time at the board forum, I'll say it again. Our work campers and our employees are the heartbeat of this organization. We will live or we will die by them. And for me, it is super important. I would love to be on the committee, but being on the finance committee and the lease committee, I'm super busy, but I am super involved in it as far as making sure budget-wise we can make that happen. But all those things, the hours, the days required to work, for me, would be on the table.
I'll come to you.
Brian, this is for you, Brian Norton. What would you say the biggest issue in infrastructure we're facing today, and how would you go about that in regards to billing and maintenance is concerned?
In my opinion, the biggest infrastructure problem we're having right now, and it's very evident in Phase 1 because we were over there just recently and I kept losing my electricity over there. I think that we need to probably shut down a phase every year and go through and remodel our electric system and our water system and our plumbing, our black water system in those phases that we shut down. It may be a 5-year project, but I truly think that those infrastructure problems that we're having right now need to be addressed, and that is a very important thing. Making the park look great is awesome. I think that's wonderful, but our infrastructure, if we don't have water, electricity, or sewer, people are going to start talking, and I would really like to keep those infrastructure problems at bay and fix the problems that we have now.
He said that he just wanted to ask Lael the same question.
Thank you for that question. I recently sat in on the main oversight meeting for both long-range planning committees, and I know that they have not come out with exactly what they're choosing to put on the 3, 5, and 10-year plan. I'm real excited to see that hopefully in December. Even if I'm not elected, I will continue to serve on those committees because I have a passion for it. The interesting thing when it comes to trying to get Treasure Lake back where we want it is we're looking at keeping the balance of taking care of the things, the infrastructure things that have to be taken care of, right? We're finally going to find out the age of every air conditioning unit that we have and try to finally come up with a plan on replacing those in a timely manner. But we're also looking at roads. We're looking at fixing water leaks. You know, we have been working on that for the last several months, and we have fixed some and then we found others. So that's a constant thing. We would, if we updated every cabin rental we had and every site we had, just kind of looking at some rough estimates, we figured roughly that would be $1.5 million just to begin to take care of those needs. That's not the huge infrastructure needs. So I'm real passionate about working with the GM and working with the board, prioritizing all those projects and figuring out how can we make our park beautiful but keep it functional. And that's just something that we're going to have to work on every day.
For the next section, I will randomly place the mic in front of somebody. And I'm just kidding. Just joking. Any other questions? Going once. Dig deep, going twice. All right, thank you. This will end this part of the candidate forum. The next part, I'm going to draw another name, and that person will start their closing statements. They have up to 2 minutes for their closing statement. Sheriff, you want to draw?
Okay. First of all, let me start off with an announcement. The church services will be held tomorrow at 9 a.m. here in the clubhouse, and Reverend Burke will be the pastor for tomorrow's service. So I wanted to get that situated to start out with, because that, as far as the other aspects of things are concerned, at the present time, the one thing that I was wanting to focus on to begin with was as far as the memberships that we've got in the SAFE. I can't reiterate that often enough, because that is one of the aspects that brings in the money necessary to do these things that the other candidates have been talking about doing. That is one aspect that's key. And I'm committed to serving on the board as your secretary as well. Transparency, get the minutes out, get them with a level of transparency so you know what's going on. Whether it's a special meeting or a regular meeting, doesn't matter. As far as that's concerned, the minutes need to be concise, but they need to be informative. As far as the one thing that we haven't talked about today at all, really, is storage. And that's one of the things else that if we can increase our storage numbers and increase the effectiveness and the efficiency of the storage. I know we're talking about combining 6 month and 1 year and making it all 1 year and all this type of thing as far as that's concerned. It's something we need to keep a handle on. We need to increase the storage where we can, increase the temporary storage, make sure that owners have the opportunity to store their rigs here. And one day I would love to be able to see it so that we could actually sell memberships and storage together. What a day that would be.
Thank you, Gary Ball. Brian Norton.
For those of you that don't know me, me and my wife spend a lot of time here from March to November, basically. And we run back and forth to the house. But we have seen a lot of ebb and flow with new management, new finances, the finance process basically. And I would like to see our park continue down this road, and I think that we're on the right road. And there may be some bumps, but we're going to have to communicate through those bumps. And I have taken, wherever I swore my oath to Treasure Lake at the meeting 3 years ago, I've remembered that oath to this day, and I keep a copy with it everywhere I go. So, in my opinion, that's probably the most important part of being a board member, is remembering park first and your oath to protect that park. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Rick Burgess.
Yep. Once again, I've been a member since '04, and, you know, I've never really thought about being a board member till the last, say, like 7 or 8 years, when things started going downhill, but I was always working, never had a chance to be down here that much. I tried to spend 3-4 weeks a year down here at least, but now that I'm retired, I can spend a lot more time here, and I would like to get on the board to try and inject new ideas and just try and, you know, help wherever I can. And I know I can't get anything done myself. It takes, you know, the board to do it. And I would like to be on the board just to try and help things out. Listening to people in the park, you hear a lot of different ideas, let me tell you. So I'd just like to have a shot and try and help the board as much as I can, however. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Brian York.
This is, hate to admit this is our second ownership. We made the mistake of selling one before, and we won't make that mistake again. Change of life and change of different things in our life, and we felt like we needed to do that, and an opportunity came up again. We jumped at it, and we were so thankful for it. And now to be sitting up here and being a little bit more part of what's going on here is really important to me. I really want to see this park continue. I want to really, as I mentioned earlier, I want to spark interest outside this gate of people out there when they go, hey, I've heard of that place, I want to be a part of that. I believe in what we're doing here, and I would be honored to serve working for all the members, all the owners. And if I'm elected, I'm available. If you need me, I'm accessible, I'm available, I'm easy to talk to, and even if I don't agree with you, I'm pretty easy to talk to. So, and I'm just up the road, so if there's something that comes up, I can be here to help out, and I just want us to see, I want to see success right here and continuance for the future generation.
Thank you, Brian. Courtney Ness.
I want to go camping with you, and I want you to bring all your friends to go camping with you too. So that's what this is. That's why we're here, y'all. We're here because we love our RVs, we love our tents, we love cabins, we love to be together, we love to not necessarily be at work today. So this is what it's all about. There's a lot of pieces that fit into that puzzle: infrastructure, work campers, board members. All of these things have to happen so that we can go camping, right? So we get all of this stuff together, all of us, with communication, with being transparent, with you knowing what's going on, because you're the one who said, hey, let's do this, right? And the board listens to you, and it happens. So that's what I want to be on the board, because I want to listen to you, because I am. We're already talking. So I may as well be a little more useful than I've been. But when I was a work camper, I just noticed things that I didn't agree with. I noticed things that made me uncomfortable, and I said, when I'm not a work camper anymore, I'll have a minute, and because as a work camper, you can't be on the board. When I'm not a work camper anymore, I'm going to run for the board. I'm going to see what difference I can make there. And so that's why I want to run for the board. I'd like your vote, or 3 of them. You can use them however you'd want. But go ahead and just, I'm the last name on the list. But please think of me whenever you do fill it out, so that we can just be here together. We can play mini golf and go swimming, we can go fishing, we can do golf cart races when nobody's looking. I'm kidding, don't, security's amazing. Okay, so thanks.
Thank you, Courtney. John?
First of all, I want to appreciate everyone for giving up a couple hours of your day to be here. beautiful day like today. There's so many things you could have been doing, so I appreciate you coming here to listen to myself, my colleagues here. So I'm not worried about you guys casting your votes, because if you gave up 2 hours today, you'll give up another 2 minutes to fill it out and stick it in the mail. What I would ask is you take another 2 minutes and reach out to your friends that weren't here today and make sure that they do vote. Because none of this works if everybody's not participating in it. And whether I'm on the board for the next 3 years or I'm sitting over in a campsite for the next 3 years, I look forward to getting to know more of you a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Dustin?
I want to start off by saying we as owners are blessed to be a part of Treasure Lake. It's the way my family feels. I think the majority of the owners feel the same way. I talk to owners. They light up when they talk about this place. It's given me reason to run for the board. I bring a background of business that I think could benefit the board. I would appreciate your vote. But first and foremost, I love the park. We all love the park, and we want what's best for the park. I am an open book. I am not here for my agenda. I'm here for the best interest of the park, and I appreciate all the questions. If you have any questions that we didn't answer the way you feel like we should have, come up and let us know. We're pretty open, I think. The whole panel, I think, has been pretty good. But once again, love the park. I love where we're headed, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dustin. Lael?
Thank you, Stephen. I know a lot of you that know me know that my faith comes first, so it won't surprise you that I had to pray quite a bit before I put my name out there to run. In fact, I wasn't sure I was going to, just because of family obligations and other things going on in my life. But my supportive husband said, I think you should. I think you still have more to offer. And I felt after a lot of prayer that this is where I wanted to serve. This is what I wanted to do. So with God and family first, knowing that I can come and serve and try to do everything I can for Treasure Lake, I am a servant leader. I am happiest when I am giving. So regardless of if I find myself being able to serve the next 3 years on the board, I know one thing for sure: we love Treasure Lake. I love the way it feels when we see the sign out at the road and we pull in and we get to the pond. It's almost like any stress I feel just falls right off, and I know that I'm coming home. That's what it feels like. And we try to explain that to people, and people that don't come here don't understand it. But we're going to continue to do whatever we can as a family to support Treasure Lake. We're going to serve on committees. We're going to come on the days when we can improve the park. We're going to power wash and paint. We're going to do all the stuff. So whether I am chosen to serve officially on the board or not, I just want for people to know that have supported me that we're still going to be here and we're still going to be supporting the park and do everything that we can. I hope I get another 3 years, but if not, you're still going to see me. And please come by my table and take all of the candy, because my husband's diabetic and it's not going home with me. So thank you guys for your time.
That concludes the formal portion of our forum. We'll now move into part 3, the candidate meet and greet. Owners, you are welcome to visit with candidates one-on-one at their tables to ask questions or continue the conversation. This portion will last for approximately 1 hour. Candidates, feel free to please select any open table of your choice, and then make sure you take your nameplate with you so owners can easily identify you. Thank you.